Hello, I'm Mike, and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And we're bringing you a very special episode of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest, the Silver Templars special. We'll be going over the Silver Templars sourcebook and the painting guide that subscribers to Warhammer 40,000 Conquest will have received or will receive as part of your subscription. And there is a battle as well as part of the painting guide, so if you want to just skip straight to that, there'll be a time code in the description. So we'll start off with the Silver Templars sourcebook. This is basically a book of fiction going into the background of the Silver Templars, and it costs £20, and I believe if you're a subscriber you got it certainly in the first quarter or so of the magazine. So it goes into the classic Warhammer 40k intro, background of the Silver Templars and their history. Lots of nice artwork. It talks about things like how they form a martial bond with their weapons and how they're all keen duelists, and they tend to make a beeline for enemy commanders and then eliminate them in a duel. Some of this stuff is basically the same as has been mentioned in the magazine, like just before we saw the Ultramarines, it goes over the Codex Astartes making a Silver Templar, where it goes over the selection process on Navaris in their monastery Colossus. And here where he goes over the chapter organisation, this is the sort of standard organisation for a chapter that follows the Codex Astartes. Although one nice thing is you do see the names of each company captain. It also mentions that apparently the Silver Templars have Land Raiders as part of their armoury. I'm not really sure what goes in them, since Primaris Marines can't go in Land Raiders, but I guess the Tech Marine has to ride around in something. But this is again pretty typical of a Codex compliant chapter, with your veteran company as the first, 4 mainline companies, 4 reserve companies and the scouts. And there's more examples of their heraldry. So they follow the regular helmet colourings with red for a sergeant, white for a veteran, red and white for a lieutenant, that sort of thing. They use the company colours as on the knee pad rather than on the shoulder pad rim, like the Ultramarines. And then we have the map of the galaxy, similar to ones that would be in the 40k rulebook, although this one includes Navaris. It's there. And then going into some of the history of the Silver Templars, even going back to Roboti Guilliman in the 31st millennium, and the Horus Heresy, the return of Guilliman, Silver Templars liberating their homeworld from the flawed host Chaos Warband, fighting in the Plague Wars against the Death Guard, and fighting against some Drukhari and Orcs as well. And then we get some more in-depth look at some of the battles the Silver Templars have fought in. And I think this artwork is included in the magazine, but here we have the Siege of Thalassus Secundus fighting against the Death Guard alongside the Nova Marines, and the Silver Templars fight alongside the Nova Marines until one Captain Protisius decides to lead his contingent of Silver Templars into Death Guard lines to try and cut off their leadership, which is a success, but in doing so a lot of the Nova Marines get killed because they're essentially abandoned. So there's a bit of enmity between the Nova Marines and the Silver Templars. And then we go into some background on Navaris itself, mostly covered in oceans, was a fairly low-tech feudal society, and they were conquered by the Slanesh worshipping flawed host until they were liberated by the Silver Templars. And they're apparently Navarian warriors are skilled duelists, so obviously that made its way into the Silver Templars' philosophy for battle. And you saw Nexus here is the Silver Templars coming to aid of the Nexus system against a war of orcs and successfully defeating them. And we have some noteworthy Silver Templars. So there's Grand Oathkeeper Hekaton as the head chaplain. Captain Patricius again is mentioned, captain of the 3rd Company, and a couple of other more noteworthy ones. And going over the main leaders of the chapter. So we have the Chapter Master Kilios Anaris, Ares Ionas, the Chief Librarian. And now it basically goes over the main units. So we're going over intercessors. They tend to favour the Stalker Bolt Rifle for its precision. They do make use of Reavers and Inceptors, as you'd see as part of the magazine, and Aggressors. Basically they make use of all of the Primaris equipment. And it goes a brief overview of all those. And the magazine goes into more detail on all of these units as well. And then we essentially have showing off some of the painted models of the Silver Templars, and you basically get one of each of the original Primaris range, although some of these are from the full kit. So here you can see these intercessors are from Dark Imperium, but then you can see the Reaver kit with the carbines and look like grav shoots as well, which unfortunately you don't get with the magazine. Aggressors with the bolt storm gauntlets, more Hellblasters, that's the full kit, but they are again with plasma incinerators. And the Repulsor and the Dreadnought from the full kit as well, the Redemptor with the Macrome Plasma Incinerator. And then finally is a little short story featuring Lieutenant Keltos and a squad of intercessors fighting against the Black Legion Chaos Space Marines. Now we're on to the How to Paint Silver Templars guide. So this guide also came with a Lieutenant with Power Sword, as you can see on the front cover, 5 Intercessors, which are actually the full kit rather than easy to build or the ones from Dark Imperium, and about 13 paints, I believe. It will show them in the magazine, and a transfer sheet, importantly, with Silver Templars heraldry on it. This thing is meant to fold out like a stand. As you can see there, it's got the Silver Templars thing, so you can use it while you're painting. So having a quick look, again we can see more painted artwork, and you can actually see the models you would get with the guide. So 5 intercessors and a lieutenant. On this page, you can how to use the guide. And there's that artwork again, which you would have just seen as Chapter Master Zanaris. Is also Lieutenant Eskadon. A little bit of backstory of the units as they're presented. And here's where it's going to get annoying, because obviously they're side to side. So I'm just going to do a brief overview of this, because similar style to the painting guides from the magazine. So it goes over the how to build. These are actually full kits, so you will need glue. The lieutenant, basically just don't have any options. That's the one more option you have. The intercessors, on the other hand, do have a lot of parts. So sort of the torso and the legs go together, and then you have all the various arms, and you have the option for the 3 different types of bolt rifles. So this guide tells you to build them with stalker bolt rifles, which are the sort of marksman version. And if you want to play the mission, there's a stratagem that uses the stalker bolt rifles. Supposedly the Silver Templars do favour the stalker bolt rifle, so it certainly fits. But really you can build them however you want. And it also has the auxiliary grenade launcher for one of the intercessors. Allows them to launch grenades much further. Some pretty neat action poses, like you can see one guy has his combat blade drawn, there's one reloading, and there's lots of extra parts, like there's purity seals, and there's a load of different options for different shoulder pads with different honours, extra ammo pouches and things, quite a lot of different heads as well. So there's a lot of choice when building them. And here you can see the completed models. And I basically followed this. I gave the sergeant a helmet because he's sensible in my army. It also tells you exactly which parts they used to build these exact models, but obviously you can build them however you want. So we can head into the actual painting part of the guide. About half of the paints you're going to use are going to be from the magazine. I think some of these you wouldn't have at the time this came out. It also goes over the ones it came with. 12 actual paints, plus a texture paint and the Storm Shield varnish, which is used later on when you're applying the transfers. And the painting guide itself, here is just going over the painting techniques. You probably would have seen all of these by the time you got this. So essentially you base coat the model with lead belcher. Actually quite similar to how I painted mine. Start off with lead belcher, painting all the gun casings and ribbing stuff black. Avalon Sunset, paint all the yellow. Mephiston Red for all the red. Again, Rakov Flesh for all the scroll work. Pretty similar to how I ended up painting mine. I used Retributor armor instead of Balthazar gold. You do a recessed shade on the armour with a watered down Avalon black rather than just using Nuln Oil, which gives it a slightly stronger colour. I just used Nuln Oil over the whole thing. Pretty much all of this shading seems like I used Seraphim Sepia instead of Agrex Airshade for the yellow bits, but again it's pretty much exactly the same as I did it. And then here they do a edge highlight with Stormhost Silver as well. I did a Nuln Oil wash over all the gun metal to make it look darker, and then I layered over the armour with Ironbreaker to make it more shinier silver. Edge highlight all the black with Mechanica Standard Grey, and you can actually go even lighter shade with Innistrasm Grey. The same going over the yellow and the red. I didn't do Screaming Sky over the yellow just to make it look more yellow rather than sort of cream coloured. To me it looks like a sort of flat gold colour there almost. But and then going over little extra details like freehand lettering the sergeant's eyes if you didn't give him a helmet. Also going over the heraldry over his little shield if you gave him that. So some of this I don't think the magazine going over, certainly not very much. So this sort of freehand work, if you can get good at it, you can do some really interesting designs. You can make some really cool looking models. And going over the eye lenses and that sort of thing here. And how to do power sword effects. You can also see the transfer sheet here. So it has certainly enough transfers for all of your intercessors and hellblasters. There's one for the dreadnought and the repulsor that you would eventually get. And the different squad markings, the different battlefield role markings as well. It has Korvon II campaign badges, quite a nifty sheet. And it also goes over how to apply them. So you paint over the area you want to apply the transfer with Storm Shield to provide it a nice smooth surface. Cut off the one you want, put it in some warm water so that it loosens from the paper, and then sort of carefully slide it to where you want to go. But you can use a brush with some clean water to kind of move the transfer into the exact position you want and just leave it to dry. And then you coat over it again with the Storm Shield so that it seals down. And finally it goes over the texture paint you would get. So Sterling Mud is basically like Astro Granite, but it's brown instead of grey. And it does show you the texture tool, or you can use a brush. You can show off the finished models here, complete with the transfers as well. It also shows a few more examples of painted Silver Templars. But with that all over, we can get into our mission for this painting guide.
Now we move on to the special scenario presented in the Silver Templars painting guide. There's a bit of fiction here that explains the background behind the battle. We're going to have to modify it slightly for our version, as you'll see shortly, but I will go over the magazine version first. The Silver Templars apparently have been waging a guerrilla war, mostly, on Korvon II, attacking Death Guard convoys and things as they try and traverse the planet. But the traitorous governor Ludmilla Tarch, who was evidently still alive at this point, has told the Death Guard of the existence of a secret facility that controls the planet's orbital defense batteries, and they have prepared a technovirus to infect and corrupt the network, enabling them to use the weapons for themselves. And the Silver Templars, realising that they're the only forces close enough to get to the facility before the Death Guard, have moved to secure the entrance, but they are now surrounded and under heavy attack, and need to hold out until the Ultramarines contingent can reinforce them. And this battle apparently takes place in Steelheim, which, as it says, was not a particularly vital target until it was realised that this facility existed in that city. And here is our mission, Hold Your Ground. Here you can see on the battle map, which has a preset terrain setup, which we'll show you in a second. But the Silver Templars, Lieutenant Eskadon and Squad Oscus, will be starting in the centre of the board, representing them holding the objective that the Death Guard are trying to capture. And then the Death Guard deploy on the left-hand side of the map. They have a 6-inch deployment zone. So obviously the modification to the story we'll be making is it's all going to be all Silver Templars involved, not Ultramarines as such, and that does have some slight rules implications which I'll go over in a second. Basically, Lieutenant Eskadon and Squad Oscus have managed to secure this facility, and more Silver Templars are inbound to reinforce them. Then it actually says Ultramarines deployment zone on the right hand side, but that's a mistake. The Ultramarines contingent, or in our case just more Silver Templars, are going to be moving on to the battle mat in their first turn from that edge. And there is an objective in the centre of the battlefield, and you, as usual, control it if you have more models within 3 inches of it than your opponent does. And the Space Marine forces, of course, are Lieutenant Eskadon and Squad Oscus, who have a special datasheet, which is over the page. And then reinforcing them will be the Primaris Captain, 2 squads of 5 intercessors, 5 scouts, 3 Hellblasters, and the Redemptor Dreadnought. Obviously, the magazine intends that only the top 2 units will have the Silver Templars keyword, the rest of the army will have the Ultramarines keyword, whereas in our case everything will have the Silver Templars keyword, which does have some minor implications. Normally, Lieutenant Eskadon's aura, for example, would only affect himself and Squad Oscus, and the Captain's aura would only affect the Ultramarines units because of the way the keywords work. Technically, the way we're doing it, those auras will be usable by the whole Space Marine army because they all have the Silver Templars keyword. It does give the Space Marines a tiny advantage compared to the magazine's version of the scenario, but it's probably going to be very minor and it's not going to make a great deal of difference, especially given the starting setup. And the Death Guard forces are a Lord of Contagion, Barlock's Putrefier, Noxus Blackbringer, 2 squads of 5 Plague Marines, the Chaos Rhino, 12 Poxwalkers, 10 Cultists, and the Myphitic Blight Hauler. And both sides have 5 command points to use in this game. Deployment, as I've already been over, Squad Oscus and Lieutenant Eskadon deploy in the centre, Death Guard then deploy, and then the remaining Space Marines move on in their first turn, but the Death Guard gets to take the first turn. And the victory conditions, there is 1 victory point for eliminating the enemy warlord and 3 for holding the objective at the end of the game, so there's a maximum of 4 available, but really the person who holds the objective will be the winner, and the game will last for 5 battle rounds. And each side has 2 special stratagems that are useful only in this mission. The Space Marine ones pertain only to the Silver Templars, so you can see that they require the Silver Templars keyword. Now, of course, obviously all of our Space Marines have the Silver Templars keyword, but as you'll see, that will only be relevant to the units that are supposed to be Silver Templars anyway. So the first one, Expert Duelist, select a Silver Templars character and 1 enemy character. In the fight phase you can reroll failed hit rolls made by the Silver Templars character against the enemy character. Technically, because we have the Silver Templars keyword on the Primaris Captain, that could be used on him by the letter of the rules, but it's not really relevant because he already hits on 2s and rerolls 1s, so it will only be relevant for Lieutenant Eskadon. And then likewise we have Targeted Volley, which is a Silver Templars stratagem. 2 command points, a Silver Templars Intercessor unit. When shooting with Stalker bolt rifles, the player shooting may allocate the wounds, rather than the player being shot, as would normally be the case. So again, we do have Silver Templars Intercessor units, other than Squad Oscus, but they don't have Stalker bolt rifles, so it won't be useful on them. And the Death Guard stratagems, we have 2 command points for Dissolve the Spores, so use it before a Death Guard model attacks with a Blight Launcher. If it hits, then all models in the target unit suffer a -1 penalty to their saving throws until the start of the next shooting phase, so that can be really handy to try and get rid of a particular unit. And finally, 1 command point for Fetid Mire. This represents the battlefield itself almost dissolving into rotten earth thanks to the presence of the Death Guard. And you can select an enemy unit within 6 inches of a Death Guard model which suffers a -2 penalty to advance and charge distances until the start of your next movement phase. But a very important note on rules here is, of course, we can guess that this scenario was written sometime between about issue 46 and issue 59 because of the units we have available to us. We don't know exactly when it was, so we don't actually know exactly what rules the magazine intends us to use, which stratagems are available and so forth. This explains why we only have 3 Hellblasters, for example. We haven't got them yet. And also the Space Marine Scouts will be the standard ones, not the ones with camo cloaks, because we don't have those yet at this point either. And likewise, it does affect the Death Guard models available for mostly the Plague Marines that you can take. But we're actually going to make a complete change and bring the rules right up to date by using the most recent version of the Space Marine Codex and the various supplements as well. So the Space Marines will have various rules to benefit them, like the Combat Doctrines and Bolter Discipline rule, not to mention access to things like the Ultramarines supplement book. And indeed, Mike will be using custom chapter tactics for the Silver Templars as well to better represent their style of warfare, which is another thing the new Codex provides. We have used the new Codex before in a battle report, you can see that if you want, and we're going to be doing that again here, both to improve the Space Marines, because we've been complaining for the whole run of the magazine, but also because this being a special episode devoted to the Silver Templars, we thought we'd explore a bit more of their background from a rules point of view. But the Death Guard aren't completely left out, because this does give them access to the new rules from the Psychic Awakening War of the Spider book, which gives them a raft of new stratagems, relics, and even some sub-cults that you can assign your force to be from a different plague company, all of which enhances their effectiveness. And they also get benefit of the Hateful Assault and Malicious Volleys special rules, which do this much the same as the Space Marines. That's +1 attack if they are charged, or perform a heroic intervention, and they get to rapid fire their bolt guns out to 24 inches if they remain stationary as well, just as the Space Marines do. And we will still be using the magazine's 8th edition rules, partly because it'd be a lot of new things to introduce to the magazine run, but also because we plan to do a separate video on the release of 9th edition 40k, or sticking with the magazine rules for this game. And finally, we have our datasheets for Lieutenant Eskadon and Squad Oscas, who technically are named units, which means you can only include them once, and it also means you can't give Lieutenant Eskadon a relic, because he isn't technically a named character. So he doesn't actually have any special rules, he's just a primary staff lieutenant with a power sword and bolt pistol. It does list him here as having the Codex Discipline rule, which is of course the Ultramarines chapter tactic. Because we're going to be using custom chapter tactics for the Silver Templars, that won't apply. So he won't get to fall back and shoot. And also his leadership will be reduced by 1 as well, because that's also part of Codex Discipline, so he'll be leadership 8. Now, Squad Oscars are a little bit more interesting. They are an intercessor squad, as we are used to, but they do have access to all the various weapon options being made from the full kit. So of course in this scenario they're supposed to be equipped with Stalker bolt rifles, which you can see there are 36-inch range, heavy 1, strength 4, AP -2, and they are actually 2 damage, because using the new codex they gained a damage. Likewise they could take auto bolt rifles, which are no AP, but they're actually assault 3 in the new codex, so that's bear in mind as well. Mike has made them with Stalker bolt rifles, because that's what they equip within the scenario. Can also take, and indeed they do have, an auxiliary grenade launcher. If a model uses a grenade, it can be increased to a 30-inch range rather than just 6. And again, they have Codex Discipline here and an extra leadership that we will be discounting because it's going to be Silver Templars. And I think that's everything, a fair bit to go over there, but obviously everything that comes up in the game we will mention at the time. So we will have a look at the armies and the battlefield and then get straight on to playing. Well, here is our Silver Templars army that will be taking part in this game. Well, let's have a look at the official Silver Templars contingent, if you like, from the scenario. So we have Lieutenant Eskadon up front with his power sword and bolt pistol, and behind him Squad Oscars, 5 intercessors with Stalker bolt rifles and an auxiliary grenade launcher on the man at the front right there. And then the rescue contingent of, in inverted commas, Ultramarines, but obviously Silver Templars. We've got the captain with the auto bolt rifle. 2 squads of 5 intercessors with normal bolt rifles, a squad of 5 scouts with bolt guns and a heavy bolter, and then at the back a Redemptor Dreadnought and 3 Hellblasters, because we don't know exactly when this mission was written, but it was probably before we got the extra 2 Hellblasters, as we said before. As I said previously, we will be diverging from the scenario slightly by using the new, well, not that new anymore, but the 2019 Space Marine Codex for this game, and indeed the Codex Supplement Ultramarines, so I'll let Mike explain exactly what that's going to mean for his army.
What it's going to mean is the captain's going to be my warlord, and I'm going to give him the Paragon of War warlord trait, which is from the Ultramarine supplement, which you can use because the Silver Templars are a successor of the Ultramarines. And what it does is whenever he makes a wound roll, if he rolls an unmodified 6 to wound, he causes a mortal wound in addition, and that applies to melee and ranged attacks. I'm also going to give him the Bellicos bolt rifle relic, which replaces his mastercrafted auto bolt rifle, so it makes it assault 4, strength 5, AP -1, and still 2 damage. I'm also going to use some of the successor chapter tactics instead of the Ultramarine tactic. So we'll lose one leadership and we can't fall back and shoot, but instead I'm going to take the duelist tactic, which means any of my models that attack an infantry or biker unit in melee, if I roll a 6 to hit, it automatically hits and wounds. And I'm also going to take Master Artisans, which is whenever a unit fires an Overwatch or is chosen to shoot or fight with, you can reroll a single hit roll and a single wound roll. Basically because the Silver Templars and their backstory are meant to be master duelists, and they also form a bond with the machine spirits of their weapon.
And here is our Death Guard force that is mandated by the scenario. So down the front we have Lord Felthius. Well, it actually said a Lord of Contagion in the list, but I went for Lord Felthius because he's more fun. To either side we have the Noxious Blightbringer and Biologous Putrefier. Many infantry units, 2 units of 5 Plague Marines, each with Champion with Plasma Gun and Power Fist and Blight Launcher. This comes in the magazine before we got the Plasma Gun and the Icon of Despair, so I'm not taking either of those. Then 12 Poxwalkers and 10 Cultists, the Chaos Rhino and the Myphitic Blightwaller. I do technically have access to the different plague companies from the Psychic Awakening War of the Spider book. I mean, they are optional, and I've decided not to bother. Basically because most of them benefit units that I don't have, or I don't want to use the relics or the stratagems from them, and my limited stash of command points isn't really worth taking any of them, so I'm just not going to bother. Lord Felthius will be my Warlord, and he'll have the Revoltingly Resilient Warlord trait for that 4+ to ignore wounds that aren't mortal. And he will also have my relic, which will be the Suppurating Plate, which reflects mortal wounds in melee, potentially if you make a successful save. Again, there are more relics in Psychic Awakening, but most of them either aren't relevant to these characters, or I think this is just a better option in this instance.
And I completely forgot about it. We actually recorded all this intro stuff about 5 days before the battle, and so by the time we got to filming the game I just forgot what relic I'd taken. Fortunately, we can be completely confident that it did not affect the result of the game at all, but you'll have to watch to the end to find out why.
And here is our battlefield. And if you've been with us a while, you might remember the days when the battlefield looked like this every single episode. We've got only 2 boards, the city board on the left and the Mechanicus board on the right, with all the terrain on top of the printed version actually printed onto the board. So, as you may remember, there's really not that much terrain or cover on the Mechanicus board. And over on the city board, there's quite a lot of cover, the one set of ammo boxes, and quite a lot of terrain on the left-hand side, which doesn't really feature in the battle apart from when you have to deploy there, and it all kind of gets in the way. There's 4 areas of area terrain on the city board. There's 2 down here, and 2 up here. One on the left is really quite large. As I said, 1 set of ammo boxes and the tank trap there. And over on the Mechanicus side, basically 2 big bits of terrain at the top, and 2 big bits of terrain at the bottom, and nothing else. And in the middle we've placed one of our battlefield objectives to represent the sort of network node that the Death Guard are trying to infect and the Silver Templars are trying to protect. And the 2 Silver Templars units will deploy in the centre, and the Death Guard will deploy and we'll come back and show you all that once it's been done. So here is the Silver Templars deployment. We've got Squad Oscus and Lieutenant Eskadon behind them, protected from shooting, sending back about as far back as they can go. Then we've got the Death Guard over here in their deployment zone. The Rhino and the Blighthauler are in the middle of the road because it's basically the only places they can fit. And then we've got a squad of Plague Marines either side. The Biologous Putrefier is inside the Rhino because he literally can't do anything until he's within about 6 inches, so he might as well sit in there. And the Blightbringer is down there by those Plague Marines. And then over here on their right flank, we've got the Cultists and the Poxwalkers down in the corner, mainly to avoid that pipe because it will slow them down. And Lord Felthius is in the teleportarium as usual. The Death Guard get to go first, so we'll be on to Death Guard turn 1. First thing is at the beginning of the first battle round, the Devastator Doctrine is active. So this just improves the AP of all heavy and grenade weapons for the Space Marines by an extra -1. So first off, all these units have moved normally, the Plague Marines so they can shoot at full effectiveness, but likewise the Blighthauler and Rhino because it needs to move up I suppose. They'll move down here and both the Poxwalkers and the Cultists will advance. And they are within 7 of the Noxious Blightbringer, so they will get to roll those 2 dice and pick the best. So the Cultists, an extra 6, and the Poxwalkers, an extra 5. And we might as well do the Blightbringer himself while we're here, so 2 dice for him, he gets an extra 5 as well. So that's enough to get the Cultists all the way over here into the ruins and the area terrain, and the Poxwalkers following behind at a slightly slower pace. And then the Blightbringer just in the middle there. Lord Felthius won't appear this turn, so we'll be on to the shooting phase. We'll start with these Plague Marines here that are within 2 inches of those ammo boxes there. And obviously they're going to shoot at Squad Oscus because that's the only target there is.
Yeah, and I'm going to spend 2 command points to play Transhuman Physiology on Squad Oscus, which means that any wound rolls of 1 to 3 always fail.
Yeah, so that will definitely affect my Plasma Gun and Blight Launchers. And it lasts for the rest of the phase.
Yeah,
well.
it lasts for the entire shooting
so
phase.
all my shooting, yeah. So that brings the Space Marines down to 3 command points. We start with the plasma gun. I will supercharge it, even though I'm only been wounding on 4s, because the 2 damage will be helpful. And we are within 18, so we get the double shots. Hitting on 3 rolling 1s. That's a 1. That's a good start. We have a dead champion, but he did hit once. He wounds on a 4, because no, 3. There you go. The 2 command points save at least one Space Marine. We have 1 blight launcher hitting on 3s rolling 1s. So an interesting rules point comes up, because the champion dies because his plasma gun blew up, and that happens technically when all the shots from that weapon have been resolved. And since I fired that first, the 4 remaining Plague Marines are no longer within 2 inches of the ammo box. So do they get the reroll aura? There are some things that, for example, everyone that's in range when you select your targets gets to shoot, but in this case, they're not within an aura range right now, and I haven't fired all the other guns.
Yeah, I mean, I would have said that you just assume that all the models in the unit are shooting at the same time, but I think things like the Captain's aura for the Space Marines say that it's only while a unit is within range of his aura they get the effect.
Yeah, so I think you could actually read these rules as written either way, but I don't think there's any guidance on this in the FAQ either, so what we're going to do is just roll a dice on a 1 to 3, they'll count as being in range of the ammo boxes still, and if not, then whatever, and then we'll just look it up in the future, or give us your thoughts in the comments as well. Interested to know if there is some official answer on this. Yes, on a 1 to 3 they're still within range of the ammo box. No, they're not, so I don't get to reroll any more 1s. 2 hits with the blight launcher, wounding on 4s, thanks to transhuman. Rerolling 1s though, so that's 1 wound, 2 wounds, so
2 5+ saves. Made 1.
D3 damage. 1 that goes through, 4-2, so that will kill 1 intercessor.
This one.
And we have 5 shots with bolt guns because the man at the back is not quite in rapid fire range, so hitting on 3s. 2 1s that I can't reroll. Wounding on 4s anyway. Only 1.
3+ armour save. Nope. Not die.
Onto these Plague Marines over here, they'll shoot the exact same thing. But I am going to spend a command point for Virulent Rounds, which is one of the stratagems from Psychic Awakening, or the Spider. This means that my bolt guns count as plague weapons, and if I roll unmodified 6 to wound, it will be AP -4. I'll do the bolt guns first, because there's a guy on 1 wound. These are on rapid fire, so hitting on 3s. And only 3 hits. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, 6s are good, and 2 1s and a 3. Let's reroll those. Or 6 and a 4. So 1 wound and 1 wound at AP -4.
Yeah, so the wound will go straight through with AP -4, and the 3+ armour save for the other, which I failed. The wounded intercessor will die, and another intercessor will take a wound.
So down to 4 command points. We'll do the blight launcher next. 2 shots on 3s. 1 hit. And on 4, thanks to transhuman theology, that's a wound.
5+ armour save. Fine.
And plasma gun. No, I'm not going to supercharge it because I've already lost 1 plasma gun. So 2 shots on 3s. They both hit. Wounding on 4s. No, they both wounded. Okay.
2 6+ saves. Failed both. So, wounded intercessor dies. Put it on grenade launcher man.
I wanted them dead because then the Blight Horde will be able to shoot at the Lieutenant. So, Rhino needs to do 3 wounds. We'll have it launcher first. D6 shots. 2. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Because hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s, no 1s, and no 4s. So, both missed. And then Combi Bolter is not in rapid fire. 2 shots on 3s, 1. Wounds on a 4. Nope. So the Lieutenant is going to live, so because the Blight Horde is going to have to shoot everything at those 2 intercessors. We'll start with the Bile Spurt, because there's a guy on a wound. D3 shots, 1. It's on 4, re-rolling 1s. Nope. No, we'll do the missile, crack missile actually. Hitting on a 4. Nope. And a multi-melter on a 4. That's it. Wounds on a 4, thanks to transhuman physiology. No, it is a 4, so no armor save, and the wounded guy dies. Just Sergeant Oscars himself left, but that is the end of my shooting phase. Yes, but he does have to make a morale test because he lost 4 friends, and he's not an Ultramarine anymore. He's only his leadership 8, not 9.
4 or less to pass, we're fine.
And with that, we'll be on to Space Marines, turn 1.
So, in my movement phase, the rest of my army's moved on. So we've got Dreadnought going straight down the middle, the unit of intercessors, the 3 Hellblasters, the captain in behind, the other unit of intercessors and the scouts. Lieutenant Eskadon has advanced, he got an extra 3 inches so he can join up with the rest of my forces. And Sergeant Oscars is going to bravely stand there to stop Lord Felsius from teleporting in the middle of the road. So I'm going to start with the scouts. The 4 bolt gunners are going to shoot at the cultists, and the heavy bolter is going to go into this squad of Plague Marines. So I'll do the heavy bolter first. So we've got 3 shots, hitting on 4s as we moved, re-rolling 1s, but I can also re-roll 1 if I want to. I'll re-roll 1, see if we can get a hit. We did.
Yep, so that's Master Artisans. Re-roll hit and wound for every unit.
And then we're wounding on a 4, re-rolling 1s, and we did.
And it's AP -2 because you're in the Devastator Doctrine. And those Plague Marines are not all wholly within 7 inches of the Blight Order either, so this will be a 5+. Nope, that's a 4. And disgustingly resilient, I shall fail. So we'll take away this Plague Marine, and then I think the remaining 3 are within 7 of the Blight Order.
Then 4 bolt guns into the cultists, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Roll that 1. Oh, all 3s. And wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s.
Yeah.
And I've still got the free wound reroll from that Master Artisan, so I can reroll that 2 into wounds. That's 4 wounds.
No AP, and they are in cover, so these will actually be 5+s at the moment. I made 1, so 3 cultists go down. Oh, surprise, surprise, they're all going to have melee weapons.
So I'm going to do the 3 Hell Blasters next, and they're going to shoot at the full squad of Plague Marines. So we go, I'm going to overcharge, 1 shot each, so Sarge, hits, next Hell Blaster hits, final Hell Blaster hits. Wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1. 2 wounds.
No armor save, straight to damage, because they're not near the Blight Hauler. 1 dies, and... Oh, I made the other one. That one.
Sergeant Oscus is going to go, he's going to fire his Stalker Bolt Rifle at the 3-man squad of Plague Marines. 1 shot, hitting on a 3.
Yep.
Re-rolling because of Master Artisans. Forgot to load his gun. This squad of Intercessors, this is going to fire at the 4-man squad of Plague Marines. So we have 5 shots, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. But I can reroll that 2 because of Master Artisans. Into a hit. Wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s.
2 1s.
Roll the 1s. And reroll another 1. Nope, nothing at all. The Dreadnought's going to fire its heavy onslaught Gatling cannon at those Plague Marines as well. So we've got 12 shots, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s. We can reroll that 1 into a nothing, and then reroll one of these 3s because of Master Artisans into another hit. So there's 9 hits. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. And that 1 is rerolled because of the Lieutenant into a nothing, and then reroll one of these into a nothing. So that's 4 wounds, all at AP -2 because of the Devastator joint gun.
So it'll be 5+s, nothing, and then 5+s again. 2, okay. If I'd killed him first, it would have got cover for the other saves, but I forgot that, and I think I didn't roll anything higher than 3 anyway, so it will be 2 dead.
And then we'll do the other Intercessor squad. 3 of them are in range of the 2 remaining Plague Marines in this squad, and the 2 aren't in range will shoot at the cultists. 3 shots at the Plague Marines, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. I'll reroll that 2 for Master Artisans, into nothing. Wounding on 5s, 2 wounds.
Oh, AP -1, but they do have cover, so 3+, because there are only 2 left. Ooh, still failed 1. Yeah, disgustingly resilient is a 5.
And then 2 shots at the cultists, 1 hit. Wounding on 3s, wounds.
They're in cover, so 6+. Nope.
And finally, the captain is going to fire his bolt rifle at the Blight Hauler because it's the only thing in range. So it has 4 shots, hitting on 2s, rolling 1s. They all hit. Wounding on 5s because it's only strength 5. And we can reroll this 4 because of Master Artisans into a wound. Yeah, and that 6 causes a mortal wound as well.
Oh yes, thanks to his Warlord trait. AP -2, so 5+s for those. Made 2, so 2 go through for 2 damage each.
Yep, 2 damage apiece.
2 damage each plus a mortal wound, so that's 5 damage, which I've ignored none of, so it's down to 3 wounds. So it's down to 3. It did actually only AP -1, not -2, but I rolled a 5 and a 6 and a 2 and a 3, so it doesn't change anything. So it will be over except for morale tests. Cultists lost 4, Plague Marines in the middle lost 1, so they're alright. The ones over there lost 3. We'll do the cultists first, so adding 4. So 4 plus 4 is 8, and that means another 2 will run. And the Plague Marines lost 3, and they are legit 8, so 3 will be fine. There, 2 cultists flee. And we'll be on to Death Guard, turn 2. Start of the second battle round, the Space Marines move to the Tactical Doctrine, which makes Assault and Rapid Fire Weapons AP -1. Here's movement so far. Plague Marines have moved up, the Rhino's moved up, still with the Biologs Putrefire inside it. Blight Hauler has moved up a little bit, but not getting too far forward. Basically, I don't want the Dreadnought to have a nice, easy charge target. Play Cloud of Flies on the 2 remaining Plague Marines over here. One still has a champion, keep them alive. The Blightbringers move forward, as have the Cultists. And the Poxwalkers will advance, and they are still within 7 of the Blightbringer. So their advance roll will be stuck on some fluff, but it's a 5. That brings the Poxwalkers up to there, and Lord Felthis will stay in the Teleportarium, so on to the shooting phase. We're going to start with the Noxious Blightbringer. He's going to supercharge his plasma pistol at Sergeant Oscus because it's the only thing in range, and if I can kill him, it'll be quite convenient. Try again. One shot hitting on a 3 re-rolling ones. That's a hit. Few wounds on a 2. That's a 1. We'll do the cultists next. They will shoot all their auto guns and auto pistol at him. 7 shots hitting on 4s. 3 hits. Wounding on 5s. Ooh, 2.
Oh. 3+ saves. Oh, made one, failed one.
He takes a wound. We'll do the 2-man unit Plague Marines next. They will put everything into the Dreadnought.
So I'm going to spend a command point to play Duty Eternal on the Dreadnought. So any damage it takes is going to be reduced by 1 to the end of the phase.
It's not what it says on the card, but they did bring out an erratum to change that because it was too good the way it is on the card. I'm going to shoot the Blight Launcher first, and I'm going to spend 2 command points for Dissolver Spores, which is the special stratagem for the mission. This means that if I hit with the Blight Launcher, then it will reduce all saving throws taken by the Dreadnought by an extra -1 till the start of my next shooting phase, which is actually pretty good. So 2 shots hitting on 3s. Only one, and winning on a 5. It didn't, but it will be AP -1 on the Dreadnought. We won't supercharge the plasma gun because Duty Eternal means it'll only take 1 damage maximum, so hitting on a 3 with 1 shot, it hit. It was on a 4 though because of that. Oh, it did, so.
It goes straight to damage because
Yeah,
no save.
AP -4 thanks to Dissolver Spores.
So we're down to 12.
Right, now that that's up, we will shoot with the Blight Hauler. It'll put the Crack Missile and Multi-Melt into the Dreadnought and the Bile Spurt into Sergeant Oscus because he is in range of that. We'll do a Crack Missile at Dreadnought first, hitting on a 4, re-rolling that 1. We hit. Who's on a 3? Did, and AP -3 because of the Dissolver Spores.
6+ save. Nope.
D6 -1 damage thanks to Duty Eternal. 1. So we'll move on to the Multi-Melter on a 4. We hit. Wounds on a... not a 1. Now, I'm going to spend my last command point, re-roll that 1. Needing a 3. That's a wound, phew. AP -5, not that that matters. D6 -1 damage, not within 12. Oh, 4. Okay, I can live with that, that's alright.
So we're down to 7.
And the Bile Spurt on Sergeant Oscus. 1 and 4, D3 shots. 2. Getting on 4s. 1. And wounds on a 3. Rolling 1s. Nope. We'll do the Rhino. It's going to shoot its Storm Bolter at Sergeant Oscus because it is in rapid fire. And the Habit Launcher is going to go into the Dreadnought because if I can take just 1 more wound off it, it'll drop it into its middle bracket. The Storm Bolter hitting on 3s. Wounding on 4s. Nothing. Habit Launcher D6 shots for 1. Hits on a 4, possibly re-rolling, I'll check if it matters. Oh, it did hit. Wounds on a 5. Oh, yeah, a 6. AP -1.
So 4+ save.
Dissolve.
No. I'm going to spend a command point to reroll that, try and keep the Dreadnought in its top bracket.
Okay.
So rerolling that 3+. That's saved, so we're still in our top bracket.
And just this last squad of Blade Marines, put the bolt guns into Sergeant Oscus and the Blight Launcher into the Dreadnought. We'll do the Blight Launcher 3s, re-rolling 1s. That's a 1. 2 hits. Winning on 5s. Ooh, double 5. And AP -3 because of Dissolver Spores.
6s. Oh, made 1.
So D3 damage. So 1 damage, but it does drop it into its middle bracket.
Down to 6.
And bolt guns on 3s, re-rolling 1s. Oh, no need for that. Wounding on 4s. 1.
Come on, Sergeant Oscus, 3+ save. Yes!
He's still alive. Well, he's going to live because I'm not going to do any charges. The only other thing I winded was Dreadnought, so no marrow tests. On to Space Marines, turn 2.
Right, so my movement phase, everyone's basically just moved up. Lieutenant Eskadon has mixed in with the rest of the troops, and Sergeant Oscus has moved back to form a big blob, effectively. Because the tactical doctrine is active, and we're an Ultramarine successor, we count as being stationary for the purposes of shooting.
Yep, so that'll help the Dreadnought out as well.
And it'll mean all the bolt rifles and Scouts bomb guns will get to shoot twice as well, because they count as being stationary for bolter discipline.
Bolter discipline, oh yes. So on to the shooting phase.
The Hellblasters are going to shoot their overcharged plasma incinerators at the Blight Hauler. It's tempting to shoot at the Rhino because we're in rapid fire range, but I think that is much more of a threat. Sarge, hitting on 1 shot, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. He hits. Hellblaster number 1. He rolls that 1 to the captain into a hit. Hellblaster number 2 hits. 3 hits. Wounding on 3s, re-rolling 1s. I can re-roll that 2 because of Master Artisans. 3 wounds.
3 5+ invulnerable saves. Made 1, failed 2, 4 damage. Need to make 2 of these. Oh, I have. He's down to 1 wound.
Sergeant Oscus is going to fire his Stalker bolt rifle at the Blight Hauler, see if he can kill it. He has one shot hitting on 3s because it counts as being stationary.
Yeah, it is a heavy weapon, but...
And re-rolling a miss because of Master Artisans. Well, it's improving. He hit! Wounds on a 5, re-rolling. Wounded.
AP -2 inbuilt, I think. Yes, a Stalker Bolt Rifle, so 5+. No.
Oh, come on.
2 damage. Yeah. Oh,
Yes.
we got it! Yep, that's one goes through. Does it blow up on a 4? Fortunately not.
Oh.
So the Blight Hauler is destroyed.
So I'll do the scouts next. They're going to fire their bolt guns into the Poxwalkers and the heavy bolt into the 3-man squad Plague Marines. Do the bolt first. We've got 3 shots hitting on 3s.
Yep, can be stationary. Thanks to...
So we roll that 1 into a hit, and I will use the Master Artisans to re-roll that 2 into a 1. Wounding on 4s. Re-rolling 1s because of the Lieutenant. It's 2 wounds.
Blight Hauler's gone, so 4+. Failed 1. Disgustingly resilient. Yep, that's a dead Plague Marine. This one.
And then we've got 8 bolt gun shots at the Poxwalkers.
Again, stationary, so you get Bolt of Discipline.
Yeah, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. Oh, no 1s, so 6 hits. Wounding on 3s, rolling 1s. Yeah, I can re-roll that because I have Master Artisans. 6 wounds.
For tactical option, AP -1 counteracts the cover I get, so that will just be 5+ Disgusting Resilience.
Made 3.
Made 3, so 3 Poxwalkers. And I'll take these ones off the back.
So I'll do the Dreadnought next. The Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon is going to go into the Rhino, start chipping away at it, and the Frag Grenade Launchers are going to go into the Poxwalkers. Start with the Gatling Cannon. We've got 12 shots hitting on 4s, because we're down a bracket and we didn't count as moving, and re-rolling 1s. It's be re-rolled. Another hit, and then I can re-roll one of these 2s. So that's 7 hits. Wounding on 5s, re-rolling 1s. So no 1s, and I can re-roll one of those.
4s. Ugh, that's 3 damage.
Down to 7. So we got 2d6 shots from the grenade launchers for 7. Hitting on 4s, re-rolling 1s. Oh, 5 hits. Wounding on 3s, re-rolling 1s. 4 wounds, and they're AP -1 because of the tactical doctrine.
So that ignores my cover, so just disgustingly resilient. Oh, there are 4 dead. No, 5 left.
So the Intercessor Squad with the Sergeant with the helmet is going to shoot at these 2 remaining Plague Marines. 10 shots hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. 1s will get re-rolled. Re-rolled a 2 for Master Artisans. Try and get it in the box. That's also a miss. So it's only 6 hits. Wounding on 5s, re-rolling 1s. And then can re-roll a failure. 3 wounds, AP -2.
Yeah, because of tactical doctrine, 5s, made 1. 2 disgusting resilient, made 1. So the Blight Launcher lives.
So the Captain's going to shoot his bolt rifle at the Rhino. 4 shots hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s. They all hit. Wounding on 5s, re-rolling 1s. Ooh, it's not as good as last time. Yeah, definitely not as good. And I can re-roll a fail. Nothing. And finally, the last remaining Intercessors. These 3 can all see the lone Plague Marine with a Blight Launcher, so they'll shoot at him. And the other 2 will fire at the remaining cultists. So, shooting at the Plague Marine. 6 shots hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. Master Artisans here as well. So for 6 hits. Wounding on 5s, rolling 1s. So there's only 1 so far, but I'll re-roll one of those. Into nothing, so it's 1 wound.
Add AP -2, 5+. Nope, and 5+. No, he's still alive.
And 4 shots at the remaining cultists, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. Roll those 1s. 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, rolling. 1 wound.
Yep, and no save because AP -2. Yeah, I'll just take that one.
So the Dreadnought's going to declare a charge on the Rhino. It's going to need to be a fairly long charge, but if it gets in, it might be able to punch it to death.
Well, Overwatch, we are within 12, so 4 shots from the Combi Bolter. 6s, nothing. And the Havoc Launcher, 4 shots. Hitting on 6s, nothing.
Needs to be a big charge. 7 isn't going to be enough.
That'll be all for the Space Marines, but there are some morale tests. The Cultists lost 1 model, and these Plague Marines over here lost 2. And the Cultist 1 will run away on a 6. 5 plus 1 is 6. Yeah, that is the Champions Leadership, they're alright. And the Plague Marine lost 2, so again at a 6. No, that's fine. Well, that will be it. On to Death Guard, turn 3. Start of the 3rd battle round, the Space Marines can change to Assault Doctrine if they wish.
Nope.
But they're not going to. And the Rhino may regain a wound on a 6. No. Well, we're kind of running out of models, so we're going to have to do some pretty drastic moves here and hope it's going to pay off. Biolog's Putrifier got out the Rhino and moved up here. He's going to sacrifice himself to try and hold the Space Marines up a bit, as will the Rhino. The Rhino should be able to get in the way of stuff, hopefully. And over here, the Plague Marines moved up. This light launcher down here advanced because he's Death Guard, so we can still shoot his assault weapon, no penalty. Get into the cover. The Cold and the Poxwalkers will stay in cover because I didn't really see the point in moving them out of it. And Lord Felthius has arrived 9 inches away from the Space Marines. So with that, it's on to the shooting phase. We'll start the shooting with the 2 remaining Plague Marines. And I'll point everything into the Dreadnought.
I'm going to spend my last command point to play Duty Eternal again.
So we'll do the Blight Launcher, 2 shots on 3s. A hit. They wound on 5s. Ooh, 1.
5+. Oh yes.
The plasma gun is going to supercharge because I really need that Dreadnought dead. We're not within 2 inches of ammo box, so just 3s. Oh, phew. Okay, so 1 hit, but it didn't kill himself. Wounds on a 3. No. The Noxus Blightbringer will shoot his plasma pistol at it. We won't overcharge because it'll only do 1 damage anyway. Hitting on a 3, rerolling ones. Hit. Wounds on a 4. Oh, wait.
6+.
Oh,
yes.
Made it. We'll put a crack grenade into it from the Biologos Putrefier. Actually, to change it up a bit, we're going to use a Hyper Blight Grenade instead because it's still winning on 5s, and I get d6 shots with it. 3, hitting on 3s, 2, winning on 5, 6 to a mortal wound in addition. 1 wound, no mortal wound.
Saved me nothing, so 3+. Made it.
Oh, I nearly forgot, I've got another Blight Launcher, so that'll shoot it as well. 2 shots on 3s, rerolling ones. So 2 hits, wounding on 5s, 1.
5+. Nope.
D3 minus 1 damage. 1. We've just got the Rhino next. We're just going to shoot everything at Sergeant Oscar's out of spite. Starting with the Combi Bolter, hitting on 3s. 2 hits. Wounding on 4s. 2.
3+. Oh, he goes down.
Haha! Finally, he is dead. And we've got the Cultists. They'll shoot at the Scouts. The autoguns are in range of rapid fire. The pistol is not. 4 shots hitting on 4s. 1 hit. Wounds on a 5. No. No more shooting. On to the charge phase. Rhino will charge that front squad of intercessors.
Yeah, so we'll throw a crack grenade and fire our bolt rifles with the other 4. Crack grenade hitting on a 6. Rerolling 1s. No, I'll use my Master Artisans.
Yep.
No. 8 bolt rifle shots on 6s. There's 1 so far. 1 hit. Wound on a 5. Rerolling 1s. No.
Charge distance I think we're in, but yeah, 8. It's going to drive in like that, making sure I stay away from the characters for heroic interventions. And Lord Felthius is going to charge the Dreadnought.
Right, so we've got 12 shots with the Onslaught Gatling Cannon, hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1, and that 1, and reroll a miss. And 2 hits. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s, 1 wound, I'll reroll that. 1 wound.
AP minus 1, 3+. Oh, fine. Revoltingly resilient, 4+. No, he takes a wound, down to 5.
And then 2d6 grenades, 7, hitting on 6s, rerolling 1s, a couple of 1s there. 1 hit, wounds on 5, nope.
And charge roll needing a 9. No. On to the fight phase, the Rhino will pile in like that, trying to basically block them off. And 4 attacks because he gets +1 because he charged for a Hateful Assault, hitting on 6s. Oh, wow! This is the best Rhino. Wounding on 3s. Alright, 1 wound.
3+ save.
That is fine.
So they're going to pile in around the Rhino, and they have 16 attacks because of Shock Assault, and we got charged, so we all get an extra attack. So 16 attacks, I'll do 2 batches of 8. Hitting on 3s, run 1s. Well, they all hit. 8 hits so far. Reroll those 1s, that was a 1 as well. Then reroll a 2. So it's 15 hits on the Rhino. Wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s. And then reroll that 1. And then we can reroll a fail. Only 2 from the first 8. And the next 7. And then a 1 gets rerolled into nothing, so it's 5 wounds.
5 3+ saves. Oh, I made the few. I was worried that was going to be a mistake, but we're alright. That's the end of my turn. No more outposts necessary. On to Space Marines, turn 3.
So, in a movement, everyone's basically kind of moved up again, except the Hull Blasters. The Dreadnought's moved up so that it's closest to Felthius, or Felthius is closer than the Cultist or the Rhino, because he doesn't matter for shooting. And the 2 characters have moved up to get close to him so they can charge. And this Intercessor Squad has fallen back from the Rhino. They won't get to shoot because we don't have Codex Discipline anymore, but it does mean the rest of my army can shoot the Rhino. On to the shooting phase. So we're going to start with the Scouts. We're going to put the Heavy Bolter into these Plague Marines, and then the Bolt Guns into the Poxwalkers. So Heavy Bolter, 3 shots, hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. Because we don't catch moving, I'll use Master Artisans to get 2 hits. Wounding on 4s, rolling 1s. Roll that 1. 1 wound.
4 plus. Yes.
Bolt guns into the Poxwalkers. 8 shots on 3s, rerolling 1s. A lot of 2s, reroll that 1. 5 hits. Wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. 4 wounds. Actually, I've got Master Artisan still.
You rerolled a 1 last time.
So 5 wounds.
And 5 plus. Oh, make 2. 2 Poxwalkers left.
I'll do the Dreadnought next. He's going to put everything into Felthius. We've got 12 Gatling cannon shots, hitting on 4s. 2 1s that get to be re-rolled. And then I can re-roll a fail with Master Artisans. Nothing. So it's 8 hits. Wounding on 4s, re-roll 1s. Lots of 2s, but I'll re-roll one of those with Master Artisans. Into another wound, so it's 4 wounds at AP -1.
3 plus. Failed 2. 4 plus. Resilient? No, down to 4.
D6 shots from the Heavy Flamer. 1. Wounds on a 4. Doesn't. And 2d6 grenades. 8. 4s, rerolling 1s. 4 hits. Wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s. That's another wound at AP -1.
3 plus. Oh dear. And 4 plus. Yes, okay.
The Hellblasters are going to shoot at the Rhino, just because it's going to be annoying. Only 2 shots each, supercharging. Sergeant. 2 hits. Another Hellblaster. It's a hit. I'll reroll that 2 with Master Artisans. Into a 1, so he'll die. Another one. Gets a 1, it can reroll. So he gets 2 hits. So we've got 5 hits and 1 dead Hellblaster. Wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s. Wait a minute.
It's dead.
Takes 10 damage.
10 damage, no save.
Yeah.
Does it blow up on a 6? Oh, it did. Oh,
A Hellblaster died, and then it blows up and does D3 mortal wounds to everything.
Whole Space Marine army and the Barbarous Putrefier. Starting with the Far Intercessor Squad. D3 mortal wounds, 2.
So 1 dies.
The Hellblasters, 2.
Yeah, another 1 dies.
The Lieutenant Eskadon, 2.
Down to 3.
Captain, 2.
Down to 4.
Other Intercessors, 1.
1 takes a wound.
Scouts, 3, but
3 dead
kills
scouts.
1 actually. Oh yes, 3 dead Scouts. The Dreadnought, 3.
Down to 2.
And finally, the Barbarous Putrefier, 3. He ignores those on 5s. He ignores 1, so he takes 2 wounds.
Down to 2.
So that's the result of all that. There's wounds scattered everywhere, and the Rhino goes down.
So that didn't go too well, but now the captain's closest to Felthius, because the Barbarous Putrefier doesn't matter, so he'll shoot at Felthius. 4 shots hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. They all hit. Wounding on 5s, rerolling. 4s rerolling, yes. So that's 2 so far.
Yeah, cool.
Reroll that 1 for free because of the 4. Reroll that 2 for Master Artisans. Oh, so that's 3 wounds plus 3 mortal wounds.
So the wounds are at AP -2 because of the tactical doctrine, so these are 4 pluses. Failed 1. So 2 normal damage, which I'll be ignoring all 4s. Okay, ignored them. And mortal wounds, the Warlord trait does not affect mortal wounds, so these are ignored on 5s. Oh, it's ignored 2. It only did 1 damage. So after all that, Filthy's only down to 3.
The remaining Intercessor Squad is going to fire everything at these 2 Plague Marines. We have 10 shots hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. Reroll one of those 2s in there as well. 8 hits, wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s. And we can reroll one of those fails. 5 in total, AP -2.
5 plus. Okay, and 4. Disgustingly resilient. There they're gone. Finally, they are dead.
Then Lieutenant Eskadon will throw a crack grenade at Barbarous Putrefier. It's on 3 rolling. It hits. Wounds on the 3, rerolling 1s. Or rerolling that 2 with Master Artisans. Nope. So the Dreadnought is going to charge Felthius. 6 is definitely enough. So we'll stay out of Heroic Intervention range from the Bellman.
And we just move the objective because it doesn't take up any space.
Yeah. This Intercessor Squad is going to charge him.
You'll throw one of his hyperblight grenades at them. D6 shots. 1 hits on a 6. No.
And their charge distance 9. So they'll finish their charge like that. Then Eskadon will charge him as well. 9's good enough. And Captain will charge as well. Yeah, they're all in.
That's the end of charges. Lord Felthius just actually intervened a bit further this way, just to get him closer to other Space Marine stuff, because his move is so little that it might be useful.
So the Dreadnought has 5 attacks.
Yeah, plus 1 for charging because of shock assault.
Hitting on 5s, 6 is automatically wound, and we reroll 1s. So, well, we got 2 automatic wounds.
That's a good start.
And a hit, and we can reroll with Master Artisans. Nope. So the non-auto wounds on a 2 because it's super strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, wounded as well. Who would have thought?
3 wounds, 4 plus invulnerable. Only 2, 1 goes through.
Yeah, D6, 1.
Oh, ignoring it on a 4. No, so he's down to 2 wounds.
Yes, we'll start with Lieutenant Eskadon, see if he can do anything. So Lieutenant has 5 attacks on the Bargus Putrefier. 2s, you're rolling 1s. They all hit. Wounding on 5s, you're rolling 1s. So we'll reroll that 1 and a 4. Nothing at all. We'll do the Captain who has 6 attacks. Also hitting on 2s, you're rolling 1s. So that's 1 auto wound. Roll that 1 into a hit. Wounding on 5s, you're rolling 1s. Yeah, can't roll anything higher than 4. You roll one of those. No, 1 wound.
With a 6+ save. Of course, I made a 6.
And then we have 16 attacks from the Intercessors. Hitting on 3s, 6 is auto wound, rerolling 1. So that's 2 auto wounds so far. I'll reroll that 2 with Master Artisans and those 1s into hits. So we've got 8 hits, plus 2 auto wounds. Second batch of 8, get another 3 auto wounds, and reroll those 2s. We got 15 hits again. So we've got 5 automatic wounds, plus 10 ordinary hits. Wounding on 5s, getting another 5, plus a reroll, 5 more hits. So there's 10 wounds.
3 plus armor saves. I failed 3 out of 10. Ignoring these on 5s. Oh, I think 2 wounds are just enough to kill him.
Yeah.
But he might explode on a 4+. Oh, he did. Oh, that's everyone within 7 takes a mortal wound. Everything that doesn't have the noble keyword actually, so Felthius is alright. So that kills the Intercessor, takes out another scout, so the Hellblaster's alright. Wound on the Intercessors over there, and the characters, and the Dreadnought. And the Putrefier is dead.
Yeah. And then we're just going to consolidate like that.
And then Felthius gets to hit the Dreadnought. He has 4 attacks, hitting on 2s. 2 hits. Wounding on 4s, because it's 6,
5
7.
attacks.
Sorry, yeah, he was charged, so he gets an extra hit, which is Death of the False Emperor, of course. 2 more hits, wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. 2 wounds in total.
2 6+ saves. Nope, didn't think so. Does it explode? No.
Dreadnought goes down, and Felthius will consolidate towards the middle. And this scout has to take a leadership test, because 4 scouts died this turn.
3 or less is good. He's fine.
That would be the end of Space Marines turn 3. On to Death Guard turn 4. Start of the battle round, Space Marines move into the Assault Doctrine, so pistols and melee weapons are extra AP -1. Kind of running out of models, but might be able to kill off enough Space Marines, so we'll see how it goes. Well, Felthius has moved a little bit. He's going to charge the Intercessors in a moment. And then over here, the only thing that's really happened is the Poxwalkers have moved up and try and kill that scout, and on to the shooting phase. We'll do a supercharged plasma pistol first into these Intercessors in front of Felthius. It's on a 3, rerolling 1s. It hit. Wounds on a 2. It wounded.
6+.
No, dead Intercessor.
And it's the one that makes it the hardest for Felthius to get through.
The Blight Launcher will try and take out the Hellblaster Sergeant. 2 shots on 3s, rerolling 1s. 1 hit. Wounds on a 3. Yep.
5+. Yes.
And the Cultist will shoot the Scout because the Poxwalkers aren't that reliable. 5 shots hitting on 4s. Oh, they all hit. Wow.
Whoa.
Wounding on 5s. That 1.
4+. He's fine.
So on to charge phase, the 2 Poxwalkers will charge the Scout.
Yeah, he'll throw a frag grenade. I think he's in range. D6 shots. 2. Hitting on 6s, rolling 1s. I can reroll from Master Artisans. No.
Charge roll. Ooh, 11. Wow.
Billion.
So there you go, and Felthius will charge these 3 Intercessors.
Yeah, and we'll throw a crack grenade and fire our bolt rifles. So a crack grenade hitting on a 6. It does. Wounds on a 3. It does.
3+ save. Yes, just.
And 4 bolt rifles hitting on 6s. I've got my Master Artisans. Nope, 1 hit. Wounds on a 5. It does.
Roll a 1. 4+. Oh, phew. Okay, doesn't take any damage. Charge. Right, 12. Wow. We'll just go there because I don't want the characters getting any closer. 5 attacks because he charged, hitting on 2s. 4 hits. 3 winning on 3s, rolling 1s. Oh, only 2.
6s. No.
D3 damage. First one, 3, and the second one, 2. So it does kill 2. So Sarge lives, and I won't bother consolidating into him because that means he doesn't get to hit me. And 2 Poxwalkers on the Scout. Hitting on 5s. Oh, wounds on a 5. No.
Scout gets to hit back.
Yeah, he gets 2 attacks because he was charged.
2 attacks hitting on 3s. They both hit the wound.
They both wound. No save. No, I killed them both.
Yes!
So that was a good way to lose 2 of my remaining 8 models. And Intercessor Sergeant must make a morale test because he lost 3 of his comrades. Only leadership 8 because he's not an Ultramarine.
Anything but a 6? Yep.
And with that, we're on to Space Marines turn 4.
Right, so that's going to be our movement. We're basically just going to skirt around Felthius. Hellblaster Sergeant's moved up to stay near the 2 characters for their auras, and the remaining scout with heavy rolls is going to stay where he is.
So yeah, shooting phase.
So we'll start with the remaining scout. He's going to throw a crack grenade at Felthius. 1 shot hitting on 3. It hits. Wounds on 3. It wounds.
Thank you, nice one. Made it.
The lone sergeant will throw a crack grenade at Felthius. Hitting on 3s, but re-rolling 1s. Into a hit. Wounding on 3s. Re-rolling 2 because of Master Artisans. Nope. Eskadon is going to throw a grenade at Felthius as well. Hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s. Yep. Wounding on 3s, re-rolling 2 because of Master Artisans. It wounds.
3+. Yes.
Intercessor squad is going to shoot at the cultists. 8 shots hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. We all hit. Wounding on 3s. 7 wounds.
6+ save. I made 2, but no, that's enough to kill them off. Cultists go down.
The Hellblaster sergeant is going to shoot at the plague ring with the blight launcher. He gets 2 shots hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. Rolling that 1. 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, rolling 1s. We run that 2 because of Master Artisans. 2 wounds.
Yep, decent cover, so 6+ save. Nope.
So
what's supercharging? So 2 damage twice. To make all of these? No. So that is it for him.
And finally, the captain, he'll fire his Bellicos boat rifle at Felthius. So he's got 4 shots hitting on 2s, rolling 1s. Good thing he can reroll 1s. 3 hits. Wounding on 5s, rerolling. Rerolling that 1 for free. And a miss. 2 wounds, plus a mortal wound.
So 2 4+ saves.
3+.
Oh, 3+, yes, because we're not in the tactical structure anymore, so failed 1. So 2 4+s for the normal damage. Oh, it was a double 1. Oh, let's see if he ignored the... Oh, no, he didn't ignore the mortal wound either. And Felthius finally goes down after absorbing a lot of fire.
And that's a victory point for Slay the Warlord.
It is, technically, for all the difference it's going to make. Well, that's it for Space Marines turn 4. On to Death Guard turn 5, but I'm just going to concede at this point because the game will be decided by models on the objective and I can't possibly kill 9 with 1 Noxious Blightbringer. So that will be a Space Marine victory, and we will recap that game for you now. So that was the battle from the Silver Templars Special Painting Guide. How do you think that went?
I think it would have gone a lot differently if we'd used the original rules from the magazine.
Yes, actually, perhaps I should have said that was the battle with our own modifications to the rules.
Yeah, as we said, I thought it'd be a bit weird to go back to older versions of the rules. Wasn't sure exactly what issue this came out with. I mean, when this must have come out, you definitely wouldn't have relics. You wouldn't have had the second set of stratagems from the magazine. And he thought it might be a nice idea to use the new rules to show us like the new successor chapter tactics that would fit with the Silver Templars, which turned out to be quite helpful. But I think if I hadn't had stuff like transhuman physiology, the stratagem, I think Squad Oscars and Lieutenant Eskadon would basically just get wiped out straight away.
Well, my plan was to kill them with blight launchers and plasma guns, and then the blight hauler would have been able to multi-melter Eskadon to death. So basically what happened is, after my first shooting phase, you walked onto the board and degraded my army significantly over 2 turns of shooting, and I don't think I would have killed the Dreadnought at all if I hadn't devoted all of my firepower to it in my second shooting phase, for example.
Duty Eternal. It's kind of like with the Repulsor, where you spent basically 2 turns trying to kill one of my models, while the rest of my army killed your army.
But on the other hand, I didn't feel I had a great deal of choice, because the Dreadnought could have walked all over, well, Felthius specifically, but basically anything. And that was also with knowing the Blight Hauler was down to 3 wounds, because I knew it probably wouldn't get another round of shooting, so I needed to...
Yeah, I think that getting rid of the Blight Hauler was pretty big.
I mean, I made a couple of mistakes, like not keeping all my Plague Marines in cover, but I think your following with firepower mostly just took stuff down anyway.
Yeah, certainly turn 2 and 3 with the tactical doctrine.
It's funny, isn't it, as well, because, I mean, you could say, well, we kind of upset the balance of the scenario, but if you hadn't used all those rules, it might well have been the other way round.
Although, well, I mean, to be fair, if the Rhino hadn't blown up, I think the Rhino blowing up was sort of what kept you in the game, because I would have had considerably more morals if it hadn't.
That's true, yeah. And the combat options, I'm sure the extra AP would have made me fail saves.
And using the Ultramarines rulebook as well. I turned 2 and 3 when I was able to have all my army move without penalty. All the bolt rifles shooting twice.
And the Dreadnought ignoring the penalty for moving, shooting heavy as well, which is often its downfall, especially when it's bracketed.
And all the free rerolls from Master Artisans certainly helped.
Yeah.
And Duty Eternal.
Yeah, I think ultimately the combination of all those various rules just increased your damage output on average.
Well, I mean, the captain did 5 wounds with his bolt rifle to the Blight Hauler, which certainly isn't possible with the one you get from the magazine.
Oh no, totally, and we've complained about the fact that we were given the old version of various rules like Captain's Bolt Rifle anyway, but then also the fact it was a relic as well, which doesn't come with the magazine, so you don't know that these good relics exist.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even class it as a particularly good relic.
No,
it just fit with him. He got quite a lot of mortal wounds with rolling 6s, actually.
Yeah, and actually, again, that's not the best Warlord trait, but it worked out quite well for you in this game.
But I think you've also hit on a good point there, though, which is if it hadn't been for transhuman physiology, you probably would have just lost the first unit, and if it'd been the magazine rules, you almost certainly would have. As in, there seems to be a fault with the scenario that you start with 6 guys in range of the whole Death Guard army, and they have literally nothing else to shoot at and get the first turn.
Yeah, and even though you get 2 stratagems to use with them, there's a good chance they'll be dead before they can actually use them. Like, I guess if the Death Guard play roll really badly, it might be worth using that extra stratagem to try and pick off blight launchers and plasma guns with your Stalker Bolt rifles. But still fairly expensive, and it's still really on 5s, you're rolling 1s. And the other stratagem to re-roll misses against an enemy character, you already hit on 2s. We also played it so that my entire army was Silver Templars, where most of it should have been Ultramarines, so Eskadon wouldn't get the re-roll 1s from the captain, so I guess you could use a stratagem for that. But
it's thematic, but not that useful in this particular mission, I suppose.
I do think it's interesting that they give you the Rhino as well, because you have 5 turns to get halfway up the board. It's not really that far.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, it turned out to be your best unit.
Yeah, it did amazing. Well, it killed that pesky Sergeant Oscars off, and its charge denied you some shooting and got in the way, and then blew up.
Killed as many morals as the rest of your army.
But that's the thing, is that I can either have my Plague Marines in the Rhino, or I can have them shooting. In the first turn, I have the first turn, and I start in range.
Yeah, you might as well not bother.
And second turn onwards, I really didn't want any of my firepower inside the box. I wanted it shooting stuff. So yeah, but as you say, I've got to run about 16 inches in the whole game. I don't really need a transport to do it.
They had to make 50 power with the more limited forces you would have had at that point. So.
Yeah, it's actually a surprisingly large game. Although with the new Codex power, I think you were down to about 43.
Yeah, you worked out to 43.
Because the Dreadnought and Hellblasters and stuff are cheaper.
So, I mean, if Eskadon and Squad Oscars had been killed, I would have been 33 power facing 49 or something.
Yeah, some of that, I mean, obviously I had Cultists who did literally nothing. I had Poxwalkers who did nothing, and I paid 6 power for 12 of them. And if we'd had more models at the time, I would have been able to bring an extra plasma gun and stuff like that. So, well, it just shows as well, actually, you were technically a 43 power army.
And still, and if the Rhino hadn't blown up...
Yeah, it would have been a comfortable win. Well, even then, I think it was a comfortable win.
Yeah.
I had 1 model left and you had 9.
Yeah. Well, I think Master Artisan's just the free rerolls from all of it. It's basically 2 free command point rerolls with every single unit.
I believe Master Artisans is one of the better ones, as in tournament lists and things. You tend to see Master Artisans, but I mean, you picked it because it was thematic. Really.
Well, yeah, I thought it helped represent the sort of martial bond the Silver Templars are described as having.
Duelists as well. On paper, perhaps not the strongest rule, but it did come into effect. It meant the Dreadnought auto-wounded a couple of times. It meant you auto-wounded my Biologist Putrefier several times with the Intercessors. And you didn't really feel the loss of Codex Discipline. There's only one occasion where you falling back and shooting would have been useful, and you passed all your morale tests.
Yeah, I didn't even have to use the free reroll being in space.
I mean, you could easily fail some of those. I mean, particularly the first one, there were 1 or 2 that you took that were quite a hefty modifier, but you passed them anyway. I did have a go with a new stratagem as well, not from the Psychic Awakening. It did a wound to an Intercessor with the AP -4 on the bolt guns. That one is better, I think, when you have a large squad of Plague Marines with bolt guns and you combine it with something like Arch Contaminator, so you reroll it, because it makes them plague weapons, so rerolling all wounds. That could be pretty scary, especially given there are other stratagems that let you make your bolt guns rapid fire too and stuff like that. But really, the Death Guard were not the faction from the magazine that was in need of a huge increase. I mean, the stuff from Psychic Awakening does really help them. It gives them some really good options. In this game, it didn't come up that much, and also I spent 2 command points on the one from the mission. Because it lasts until my next shooting phase, I think that did have an effect. I think as 2 command points spent, that was probably a good spend. I think if that were a stratagem actually in the Death Guard book, might use that one fairly often. If you want to just shoot a unit and delete it from the board, you shoot a blight launcher at it and then AP -1 for everybody.
It's much better than the other one, where you can reduce an enemy's advance and charge distances.
I also considered spending command point to give Lord Felthius a reroll 1s aura. In the event, I don't think I rolled enough 1s. I think, he wasn't really doing very much. He was only on the board for half the game, and he didn't really get to do that much fighting. But overall, I think new rules made the game. But as I said, I think if you hadn't been using the new rules, I think it would have been in my favour instead.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I probably would have taken Storm of Fire on the captain. And if I had taken a relic, I mean, it probably would have been 3+ invulnerable save Halo. Yeah, I mean, I like how they managed to fit the Silver Templars into the overall narrative. They made cameo appearances, and it's nice to how we were playing them.
It does actually show off their character, because it was the story behind it is basically, there was an objective that needed taking, so they just went.
Yeah, and it fits with one of the stories in the source book as well. Certainly fits their character to head off slightly rashly without support, and the 2 stratagems fit with them as well.
I guess we can talk about the kit and the source books overall as well.
Yeah, I mean, the kit you get is Lieutenant Eskadon is the lieutenant with Power Sword. I think originally came with Wake the Dead box set.
That's right, yeah.
one of the few lieutenants you can actually buy separately, of the 15 or so that are actually available, some stupid number. And the Intercessors kit is basically half of the box of 10 you can buy. And you get all the weapon options, and the Stalker bolt rifles fit with the Silver Templars. It does say in the source book that they tend to favour it. Really, you can build them however you want.
And indeed, their datasheet does have the options for the other guns as well, which obviously I went over in the
and
intro.
The grenade launcher.
We didn't actually see it because it died, but you would have been able to just lob crack grenades at longer range. That's basically all it would have done in this. Or indeed frag grenades at the Poxwalkers if you wanted to do that, I suppose.
I think Eskadon's datasheet is pretty much exactly the same as Calcius. I mean, technically he's a named character. You just use that model as a lieutenant.
He's a named character in this scenario, but the same with Squad Oscars. They are a named squad, technically, but they're not in real life. It's just this scenario. And obviously you get a load of paints, which is just good value for money as much as anything else. I think the paints are worth more than the price for the box itself was just by themselves.
I mean, I think you got something like 14 extra paints, or 15, maybe about £3 each. So it's actually quite good value for money.
Yeah.
It's £35 for 10 Intercessors, so 17.5 plus 20 for the Lieutenant. £37 to buy just the models.
Yeah, and then you've got a transfer sheet and a painting guide on top.
Although apparently, I think there's some people on Facebook saying that they got slightly different paints to the ones that it said it has.
I think it was consistently, there was actually one paint that was wrong. And there's a transfer sheet as well, which is quite a rarity from Games Workshop these days to actually do a transfer sheet. Most of the time with transfers you get Ultramarines, Dark Angels, Space Wolves, Blood Angels, and maybe some other things. I can't remember what the latest Space Marine transfer sheet has on it, but
you do get enough transfers to basically do everything from the collection, so I'll get around to that. But I want to see if I can get hold of more transfer sheets first. I'm not sure how. I have found third-party websites that have the Sword and Lightning Bolts logo. I haven't used any of those sites, so I can't tell if they're actually a good deal or anything, or if they're trustworthy. But possibly when the painting guide is released in, I think Germany is, they're still fairly near the beginning of the magazine, so maybe some more of those available. Or I don't know if it's possible to photocopy transfer sheets, because you can make your own transfers, so I'm not sure if there's a way to do that. And I'd say the painting guide itself is actually quite good. It goes into a lot of detail. Things like Oscus's little wrist computer, you go into teeny tiny detail.
And his eyes as well. So I think.
Yeah, and little scroll work and stuff. By the end of the magazine, you could probably paint to that sort of level.
In some ways, it's slightly more advanced than the magazine. I think they didn't do freehand in the magazine.
Whereas the source book, I would say, probably isn't as good value, because it's essentially the same price as one of the Codex supplements, but it doesn't come with any rules. It's all just background, and some of the background is also mentioned in the magazine itself. I mean, it does have some neat narrative stuff. It is nice to have more background for successor chapters. I mean, this book is more than most of them get. I mean, you've got the Black Templars and the Crimson Fists, who are part of the Imperial Fist ones. And
the Flesh Tearers get their own rules, and the Blood Angels, but other than that...
So the Silver Templars actually have more backstory than some of the other ones. I mean, because there's thousands of chapters, and he's still focusing on the same 9 over and over again.
Yeah, get some artwork and stuff.
You get a bit more effort.
And in the source book, it looks like they actually painted up an army of Silver Templars, so if you are collecting Silver Templars, there is some inspiration in there for, I guess, how to paint different kinds of models. And I think it looks like they painted up basically one of everything of the original Primaris range. There's no Vanguard stuff they've done, but it looks like they got someone to paint it all up, so it's quite nice to see those models as well.
But I believe these were in the terms and conditions, where when you subscribed you had to sign the terms and conditions, and they were mentioned in it, because some people were like, oh, wait a minute, why am I being charged £20 for a book? It was an opt-out offer rather than an opt-in.
I think they did send subscribers a letter a month in advance to say, this is coming, you can opt out if you want. But I don't think we have anything more to say about the battle or the special supplements, so we hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give it a like and consider subscribing. There will be more Silver Templars content coming soon and in the future as well. Check out our Mortal Realms series for the Age of Sigmar version of all this. If you've played this game, then let us know your thoughts about it. Also, we'd be interested to know your thoughts on the Silver Templars, the chapter tactics, successor rules, that sort of thing, all the new Space Marine rules. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we will see you in the next video.
Yeah, bye for now.